Only two very brief questions for you. My understanding previously, I seem to recall, was that the industry was going to pitch in some money into this project. Whatever happened to that?
That's still on the table. We are in discussions and are always open for discussions with the private sector who may or may not locate there. If there's opportunity for new industry to go there, whether it be the mining industry or the clean energy industry, if they're able to come to the table and see a benefit in this and bring dollars, we're certainly open for that discussion at any time.
But you guys are funding it at the present moment in time in its entirety?
Well, we made, not in its entirety, we certainly made a commitment to move on the Northwest Transmission Line pending our discussions with the federal government. They have now today come to the table with this very positive announcement of $130 million. Our commitment was to build the line. We're going to move forward and build the line.
Right. So just to be clear then, at the present moment in time, all the money is coming from the government and you're going ahead with the transmission line regardless of whether or not private sector money comes in.
Well, yeah, and we're hopeful. We made a commitment to build this line. Part of that commitment was contingent on working with our federal government and getting their input as well when it came to the dollars. And their announcement today of $130 million, which is extremely positive, allows us to move forward and build this line.
So I guess what I'm a little bit unclear about then, given the fact that you were previously looking for private sector dollars, how confident are you that that money is going to be forthcoming in the future?
I'm an optimist. I'm always open for discussions with the private sector, the people that are looking to invest their capital in the Northwest.
Is government funding making up the entirety of this project?
No, there's about $90 million of private sector money in the project, but there's also every expectation that this is going to open up a whole quarter of the province. And there's been some tremendous exploration activity in the Northwest, and there's been projects up there in terms of independent power projects that have been proposed, some that are farther along than others. But there's just tremendous opportunity for economic opportunity and job creation, and as those mines and other projects come online, they will be using the transmission line, which will ultimately wind up paying for a big chunk of the cost.
Have you secured that $90 million in funding yet? Have you secured that?
There's a lot of work has already been done on it, and it's now that we have this funding from the federal government, which is great news for all of us, we're going to be able to move ahead with that
So you have identified the private partner already?
Yes.
Thanks very much. Who is the private partner? Who is the private partner? Colin. Who is the private partner? We just finished talking to Minister Hansen, and he said that the provincial government has already secured $90 million in private sector funding for the Northwest Transmission Line. But where is that money coming from? Who's the private sector partner?
Right now we're working with a number, actually, and we're in discussions. We have always said that if we can bring partnership to the table to build this line, it would be a positive approach to do it. Today's announcement of $130 million from the federal government is extremely positive. We made a commitment to build this line, and we're going to move forward on it.
But who's the private sector partner?
Well, I'm not able to tell you that today. These are negotiations that are ongoing, and those discussions, as soon as we have conclusion or something I can give you, I'll certainly do that.
So have you really secured that funding then? Like, is that funding solid, that you have that $90 million in pocket from the private sector, or is it still forthcoming?
We're in discussion right now.
But who's actually funding it from the provincial government side?
Like an RFP or
If we had one question, it would work better.
Don't you need for that kind of amount of money, don't you need to have some kind of a formal process like RFP or something like that, or you can just enter negotiation with the partner of your choice?
We've always said that the opportunities that this line will bring forward for industry, whether it be the mining industry, whether it be the clean renewable energy industry up there, is going to be significant. So as those opportunities avail themselves, we think that we would like to and have entered negotiations or discussions to see what they can bring to the table. We've always said if we can bring private sector dollars to the table to help with this project, we would.
Thank you. Last question. Just clarify where this appears in the bottom line and the province's bottom line. Direct government expenditures, hydro retransmission.
It is not in the budget today as you would look at those budget lines. We think that would be irresponsible. We didn't have a commitment from the federal government when we were moving forward with the budget. The commitment, if we're able to move on this as early as next year, allows us to be in next year's budget cycle, so I think that's an appropriate way to do it.
But the government or BC Hydro or the BC Transmission Corporation?
BC Transmission Corporation obviously is the proponent of this, but BC Transmission Corporation is, the assets are held by BC Hydro, if we look back at how those crowns are set up.
So does it appear in their bottom line then?
Today,
Will it, when it is funded?
we'll come through with that, and I'll give you that information. But yeah, this is a project, I mean, to me, today is not about which line it's going to show up in. We made a commitment to build the Northwest Transmission Line. We now have a commitment from the federal government to bring dollars to the table. We're in discussions with the private sector as well. We're going to build the Northwest Transmission Line.
Is there money in BC Hydro's budget for this, and what's this 90 million secured funding that you're talking?
So
Last question.
So in terms of the province's share, the way we build transmission lines is typically they're built for BC Hydro by BC Transmission Corporation. So this, the building of this line would be seen as commercial debt. It would be BC Hydro that would arrange for the financing for that, and obviously we're going to work with them. But this announcement today is obviously great news for us. We do have private sector interest in Highway 37, and we're going to continue to work with some of these private sector partners to see if we can firm up the dollars that we think are available to help make this project.
90 million?
Well, it's in that range, but we're certainly going to continue to work with them to firm up those